With the U.S. joining the war, the Israel-Hamas conflict has reached a critical stage. Rumors of a potential Third World War are circulating as the alliance between Israel, a technologically advanced nation, and the United States adds a new dynamic to the conflict. Due to this relationship, the U.S. has deployed a formidable warship to support Israel, a move that could either escalate tensions or pave the way for resolving this long-standing dispute. What impact would this have? What is the strength of the warship deployed? Join us as we explore the characteristics of the United States' new $500 million warship that is unstoppable in battle. As the Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer USS Carney returned from an extraordinary deployment to the Middle East, the Navy revealed fascinating details about its operations against Iranian-backed Houthi rebels. Over roughly 6 months in the Red Sea, Carney's crew achieved remarkable results, taking out 65 Houthi targets, both in the air and on the ground, according to official reports. The USS Carney was initially sent to the Middle East after the Houthi forces intensified their attacks in the region. These series of attacks involved launching ballistic and cruise missiles, as well as deploying aerial and sea-based drones, targeting military and commercial vessels in critical waterways like the Red Sea, Bab al-Mandab, and the Gulf of Aden. The Houthis escalated their operations following the Israeli Defense Forces' response to the Hamas attack on October 7. That response included heavy airstrikes and a large-scale ground offensive, fueling tensions and conflict across the region. As a result of these actions, the USS Carney has been engaged in 51 confrontations with Houthi forces, as highlighted by Chief of Naval Operations Admiral Lisa Franchetti during her speech welcoming Carney back to Norfolk on May 10. Though Franchetti didn't elaborate on the specifics of these engagements, the Navy shared that Carney successfully neutralized 45 Houthi-launched weapons, including land attack cruise missiles, anti-ship ballistic missiles, and drones. Additionally, Carney conducted 2 defensive strikes on Houthi targets in Yemen, eliminating 20 more threats. However, 6 Houthi-launched targets managed to escape destruction, and the details surrounding those instances remain unclear. Carney's recent deployment was also historic for another reason. It recently became one of the first 2 Navy ships to use Standard Missile-3 interceptors in live combat. This marked a significant milestone for the Navy, as the SM-3 had been in service for years, but had never been deployed against actual threats until April 14, 2024. During a massive Iranian missile and drone attack on Israel, Carney and USS Arleigh Burke reportedly shot down 4 Iranian missiles. However, conflicting reports later emerged. While some sources claimed 2 of the 8 SM-3 missiles launched successfully hit their targets, others disputed this account. The Navy declined to clarify the situation, citing operational security, leaving questions unanswered as further inquiries were directed to the Pentagon. Even though the results of the missile attack remain unclear, the USS Carney's role shows just how important it is as a modern warship. Aside from its recent missions, the Carney has a special place in Navy history. It is the 14th ship in the Arleigh Burke class and the first to be named after Admiral Robert Carney, a respected leader who served as Chief of Naval Operations under President Eisenhower. It was built in 1993 at Bath Iron Works in Bath, Maine, and launched in 1993 with Betty Taussig, the daughter of Admiral Carney, serving as the sponsor. The ship was officially commissioned in 1996 and is based in Mayport, Florida. Now, to the features that make it formidable, this warship has a range of 5,400 miles, can travel at speeds over 30 knots, and carries a crew of 329. The Carney is also equipped with advanced weaponry, including Standard missiles, Harpoon launchers, Tomahawk missiles, a 54 caliber lightweight gun, and torpedoes, along with a multi-mission helicopter. This warship began its deployment in 2002 when it was deployed to the Mediterranean and Persian Gulf in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. One of the most significant deployments was in 2016. The Carney, along with 3 other destroyers in the U.S. Sixth Fleet based at Naval Station Rota in Spain, received significant upgrades to enhance its self-defense systems. The ship swapped its old Phalanx CIWS 20mm Vulcan cannon for a more advanced CRAM system. The CRAM is an 11-cell RIM-116 rolling airframe missile launcher, which provides better protection against missile attacks. It uses the same sensor dome as the Phalanx, but this was the first time the CRAM was paired with an Aegis-equipped ship. All 4 destroyers, which were either Flight 1 or 2 versions, had originally been equipped with 2 phalanx CIW systems when they were first launched. The CRAM system had previously been introduced on the Independence-class littoral combat ships. In May 2024, this guided missile destroyer concluded a remarkable 7-month deployment to the Middle East, returning to its home port in Mayport, Florida. This mission, originally intended to be routine, became an unprecedented combat engagement after the Israel-Hamas war erupted. Commander Jeremy Robertson and his crew found themselves facing a series of hostile attacks from Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen, who had aligned with Hamas and were targeting Israel with waves of drones and cruise missiles. According to reports, tensions began to rise shortly after Carney entered the Red Sea through the Suez Canal. Crew members recalled that early warnings indicated potential threats heading toward Israel from the south. Lieutenant Dennis Morale explained that intelligence suggested a barrage of drones and land attack cruise missiles had been launched by the Houthis, some of which were traveling up the Red Sea. It was said that the Carney's radar system first detected one of the drones roughly 60 to 70 miles away. Commander Robertson reportedly spent almost 9 hours in the ship's Combat Information Center, overseeing operations as his crew worked to intercept multiple incoming threats. Observers described how the Carney engaged over 15 targets, marking the first time an American warship had fired weapons in defense of Israel. It was noted that the ship successfully intercepted the drones and missiles that came within range, though Robertson later admitted it was unclear if the projectiles would have reached Israel. Lieutenant Commander Rebecca Fleming, who was in charge of the ship's combat systems, shared that the crew had trained extensively for such scenarios, but noted that experiencing it in real time felt surreal. Accounts from the crew suggested that their training played a vital role in their success. By the end of its time in the Red Sea, the Carney had intercepted 45 of 50 threats, including drones and ballistic missiles. Reports emphasized that this marked the Navy's first real-world tests against supersonic ballistic missiles, some of which were traveling at speeds exceeding Mach 5. Robertson reportedly acknowledged the difficulty of the situation, explaining that watchstanders had only seconds to react to such fast-moving threats. It was also noted that decisions required careful human oversight to ensure the ship's systems were targeting legitimate threats and not civilian aircraft. Lieutenant Kenny Shook, the Carney's weapons officer, provided insight into the ship's firepower, explaining that the destroyer's launch tubes housed the missiles used to neutralize targets. Despite the challenges, the ship's capabilities were said to have played a critical role in protecting commercial shipping in the region, which the Houthis had targeted in an effort to disrupt international trade. When the engagement finally ended, crew members reportedly stood in disbelief at the intensity of the experience. Many described the event as historic, with Robertson reportedly stating that no U.S. Navy ship had fought such a battle since World War II. Observers also highlighted the Carney's significant contribution to safeguarding regional stability, turning what was expected to be a standard deployment into a defining moment in naval history. Commander Robertson shared that he was deeply worried about the possibility of mistakenly shooting down the wrong target. The USS Carney had to break away from its patrol to refuel and restock its supplies at sea, but when it came to getting more missiles, the ship had to dock because the weapons were too large to be transferred while underway. Robertson pointed out the significant costs involved, noting that the ship was firing expensive missiles to target much cheaper drones. However, he stressed that no one ever suggested using fewer missiles. He explained that as the commander of a $2 billion ship, responsible for over 300 lives, he was fully aware of the stakes. He emphasized that the decision to fire a missile was entirely his to make, and he would take that responsibility without hesitation, even if it meant using missiles throughout the day. Though the Carney also fired its main gun during engagements, Robertson made it clear that the gun had a much shorter range compared to the missiles. His priority was to keep the Houthi drones and missiles as far away from the ship as possible. According to him, nothing ever came close to the Carney, nothing within 5 miles of the ship. However, despite the Carney's efforts and the support of other Navy vessels in the Red Sea, they couldn't protect every commercial ship from the Houthi attacks. One ship tragically sank during the conflict. The Defense Intelligence Agency tracked these attacks over a period of 4 months, showing the ongoing threat in the region. When the Carney was recalled and ordered to head toward the eastern Mediterranean, Robertson and his crew knew their work wasn't over. On the night of April 14, Iran launched more than 300 drones and missiles toward Israel, and the Carney once again found itself in the midst of action. Robertson recalled that the final part of their mission mirrored the beginning, firing missiles in defense of Israel. As the Carney's deployment finally came to an end, the ship's battle flag flew proudly, marking the end of a long and intense journey for the crew. A young crew member, reflecting on the experience, spoke with reporters about how the mission had changed him. He admitted that when he left, he was one person, but after everything they went through, he returned as a much stronger individual, carrying the lessons and experiences of that deployment with him for the rest of his life. The end of the USS Carney's journey ushered in another warship, the USS Zumwalt. It was created with a bold plan to build a new kind of destroyer, packed with advanced technology, but faced challenges when its funding was cut and its future changed. To keep the project alive, it was rebranded as DDX and underwent major redesigns. By 2007, funding for the ship, later named DDG-1000, was secured through the National Defense Authorization Act. In February 2008, Bath Iron Works in Maine won a $1.4 billion contract to build the ship, and production officially began on February 11, 2009. Building the Zumwalt was no small task, and delays were inevitable. Originally set for delivery in April 2013, the timeline shifted due to technical challenges. Construction began on November 17, 2011, with over 60% of the ship already fabricated. Although a naming ceremony was planned for October 19, 2013, it was canceled because of the U.S. federal government shutdown. Still, progress continued, and the Zumwalt was finally launched into the water on October 29, 2013, marking a significant milestone for the futuristic ship. The ship's sea trials began in January 2014, testing its strength against harsh weather and the unique design of its inverted bow, which reduces radar detection. Engineers tested how the ship handled waves, wind, and rolling seas, as well as its fuel systems, propulsion, radar, and electronics. These tests paved the way for acceptance trials, with the ship aiming to be fully operational by 2016. A unique feature of the Zumwalt was its first commanding officer, Captain James A. Kirk. The name delighted Star Trek fans because it matched that of the fictional starship captain played by William Shatner. Shatner himself joined in the fun, sending a letter of encouragement to the crew in 2014, which boosted morale and brought a bit of Hollywood charm to the Navy's efforts. On December 7, 2015, the Zumwalt set out on her first sea trials, testing her capabilities under real-world conditions. She didn't just pass the tests, she also demonstrated her practical value during an emergency. On December 12, 2015, while still in testing, the ship responded to a Coast Guard call for help. A fishing boat captain had fallen seriously ill 40 nautical miles from Portland, Maine. With rough seas preventing a helicopter rescue directly from the fishing boat, the Zumwalt's crew stepped in, using their inflatable boat to bring the captain aboard. From there, he was airlifted to safety, showcasing the ship's versatility and the crew's readiness for any sort of event. The Navy officially accepted the Zumwalt on May 20, 2016, although minor issues like a seawater leak in the auxiliary motor drive required some fixes. On October 15, 2016, during Fleet Week in Baltimore, the USS Zumwalt was formally commissioned. This moment marked the debut of one of the most advanced warships in naval history, a ship designed not just for war, but for innovation, humanitarian missions, and the challenges of the 21st century. On November 21, 2016, the USS Zumwalt experienced a major setback while traveling through the Panama Canal on her way to her home port in San Diego. The ship lost propulsion in her port shaft due to water intrusion in 2 of the 4 bearings that connect the advanced induction motors to the drive shafts. This caused both drive shafts to fail, and the Zumwalt ended up striking the lock walls of the canal. Fortunately, the damage was only minor and cosmetic. However, the ship had to rely on tugboats to complete her transit through the canal. The Zumwalt stopped at the Vasco Núñez de Balboa Naval Base near the Pacific end of the canal for emergency repairs before resuming her journey. When she arrived in San Diego, further investigation revealed that the water leak came through the lubrication cooling system, though the exact cause remained unclear. The crew's quick response to the situation earned praise. particularly Captain James Kirk's decision to use tugboats instead of risking further damage by trying to maneuver the ship under her own power. This decision demonstrated the captain's integrity and commitment to ensuring the safety of the ship and crew. Following these challenges, the Zumwalt underwent significant operational milestones. In April 2019, she left San Diego for her first operational deployment in the Pacific. During this deployment, the ship visited Ketchikan, Alaska, where her crew tested the ship's stability in rough conditions, including stormy seas classified as Sea State 6. She also made her first visit to Pearl Harbor, marking a milestone as the first Zumwalt-class destroyer to dock in Hawaii. In April 2020, the Navy officially accepted final delivery of the Zumwalt, paving the way for additional sea trials and operational testing. By September 2022, Zumwalt embarked on her longest voyage since being commissioned, making a notable port call in Guam on her way to Japan. On August 1, 2023, the Zumwalt departed for her new home port at Ingalls Shipbuilding in Pascagoula, Mississippi. There, the ship is undergoing a modernization period to receive advanced technology upgrades, ensuring that this state-of-the-art vessel remains ready to tackle the challenges of modern naval warfare. This next phase highlights the Navy's commitment to continually improving and adapting its most advanced destroyer for future missions. This unprecedented deployment was not only defined by the sheer number of threats neutralized, but also by the groundbreaking tactics and weapons employed, setting the stage for one of the most historic moments in naval warfare. Let's dive into the capabilities of the United States' most recent warship. The USS Zumwalt is named after Elmo Russell Zumwalt Jr., a remarkable American naval officer who made history as the youngest person to become the Chief of Naval Operations. As an admiral and the 19th Chief of Naval Operations, Zumwalt was a key figure in U.S. military history, especially during the Vietnam War. Known for his dedication and bravery, he earned numerous awards as a decorated war veteran. Beyond his military achievements, Zumwalt brought significant changes to the Navy's personnel policies, focusing on improving the quality of life for sailors and addressing racial tensions within the ranks. After a distinguished 32-year naval career, he attempted a political career by running for the U.S. Senate, though the campaign was not successful. The USS Zumwalt's hull classification symbol, DDG-1000, breaks away from the usual guided missile destroyer numbering sequence, which traditionally extends only to DDG-139. This sequence includes ships like the Arleigh Burke-class destroyer Telesforo Trinidad. Instead, the Zumwalt follows the older gun destroyer numbering system, which ended with DD-997 in 1983, the last Spruance-class destroyer named Haler. This unique numbering reflects the Zumwalt's innovative design and role as a next-generation naval vessel. The Zumwalt-class destroyers were designed to be versatile and capable of handling multiple missions. Unlike older destroyer classes built mainly for deep-sea combat, the Zumwalt class focused on supporting ground forces with powerful land attack capabilities, while still performing traditional roles like anti-air, anti-surface, and anti-submarine warfare. Initially, the USS Zumwalt was equipped with two advanced gun systems designed to fire long-range land attack projectiles. These projectiles could hit targets up to 100 nautical miles away, making them a crucial tool for supporting ground troops. However, LRLAP production was canceled in 2016, leaving the AGS without compatible ammunition. With no replacement in sight, the Navy decided to shift the Zumwalt-class focus from land attacks to surface warfare. To adapt to its new role, the Navy began retrofitting the Zumwalt-class ships in 2023, replacing the AGS systems with advanced missile systems, giving the ships a fresh mission and making them even more formidable in modern naval warfare. Thanks for watching. While you are still here, click on the link on your screen to check out another of our videos. See you there.